Good morning. It's Friday, June 25th. The year is 2021. I've been keeping track of the coronavirus pandemic. We're still in it, and there is the Delta variant that's lurking around, eating the unvaccinated. See, the people who've been vaccinated, we don't get ate by COVID no more. So COVID kind of sniffs us and says, I don't want you. Then he goes over to the unvaccinated person that doesn't have the COVID-19 vaccine and sniffs them and tear their ass up. Like, steak! Salmon! Juicy. See, when you put this is like, we have our vaccine, which is like kryptonite against the COVID vaccine monster, the coronavirus. So the coronavirus, I can say smell it, goes up and down, smell us and say, nah, I can't eat that poison. But then it goes over to that, that fat, unvaccinated person that said they in good health and they ain't taking a blood pressure pill, haven't went to the gym in forever, got diabetes, heart problems, and God knows what else, because they don't know because they ain't been to a doctor and God knows when. Well, the coronavirus will just eat them alive. They're a little bit more tastier snack. See, get the vaccine and you won't get eaten by the coronavirus. I promise you that. So, make sure you get your vaccinations before the coronavirus shows up there. The Delta variant comes and bites you in your ass. Now, a building collapsed to the ground in Florida, in Surfside, Florida, right? Not too far from South Beach, Miami Beach. Well-to-do area. I looked online. Some of those buildings some of those units in that building recently sold. A penthouse sold for $2.3 million in June. Excuse me, I'm belching. Units with $700 to $2-3 million right on the beach. How could a beachfront condominium collapse in the state of Florida that was only built in 1981? What happened when there are buildings in Miami? I've stayed at a building, a hotel in Miami recently, a tall building too. It was built back in the 1920s, 1930s. How could a building built in the 1980s collapse like that? Well, I'm going to put my money on the ground beneath that building giving way. Almost like a sinkhole or something similar to that, or soft sand, or something happened under that building that they could not see. Now, I don't think these rich, wealthy white folks would do something to make that building structurally unsound. I don't think so. Something happened underneath that building, which caused those pillars that were holding up that building to collapse, even bringing that building down like you watch the building just kind of went down. So I think there's something underneath that ground. The crazy part is, going forward, depending on how they built those buildings in that time frame, we might see other additional collapses along Florida and in those barrier islands where erosion of the ground and water beneath the building. There's a lot of stuff. There's a ton of stuff going on in Florida when we think about climate change. Miami is having parts of Miami's beach and South Beach. Now they have to sometimes, particularly Miami Beach, they have water that they've been raising the street levels because of the water coming in. So we know water, just like in any home, if there's water in your foundation would give way there, just in a typical house. I can imagine a 13-floor concrete building weighing millions of tons of steel and concrete. When that ground became too soft under that building because of corrosion or whatever took place underneath that building, that's why that building came down. Now, these white folks are going to tell you all kinds of shit, but we know Florida is known for having sinkholes. There were incidents where another hotel collapsed a few years back, but they got everybody out before it came down. There was a sinkhole, and there's another incident where a young man was in his bedroom in a house in Florida, and the house was swallowed up in a sinkhole. His bedroom collapsed first, and they couldn't get him out, and then the whole house eventually collapsed into the sinkhole. They never saw him again. They just heard him screaming. before he perished in the sinkhole. More than likely, the ground beneath that building gave way, causing that building to collapse. And it could have been the way they built that building in 1981. Because as I said, I have stayed, there's a hotel called so many structures built back in the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, that I've stayed in older places, like I think one place called the Cadillac. That's an older structure. There's another hotel. The Fontainebleau was probably built much earlier, but earlier, 14 to 5. A lot of high rises built in Miami Beach, South Beach, Surfside, all on those Berry Islands, tons of them, and in the city of Miami on the waterfront. So those buildings have been standing for decades. Or could this be the beginning of something new? Will they now have to begin using sonar X-ray to look under the foundations of these buildings to make sure that sinkholes are not forming under these buildings? Because you wouldn't know a sinkhole was there unless you went looking for it. They may not have even considered the option. I don't know. I don't know about Florida architecture and what their rules are and stuff like that as these buildings age. But something caused that building to come down. Something took place under the foundation or near the foundation of that building. And I cannot see this building of wealthy homeowners, a homeowners association, which is very strict homeowners association, doing any type of work to that building that could have caused that building to come down. Now, let's just entertain this for a minute. Let's say they had a contractor in the building who was working in the building and might have took a wall out. All right. I don't think a wall inside a unit would cause that building to come down, removing a wall like that. Not the way those buildings are designed. So they would have been doing something with those piers holding up the structure under the building. And if you've ever been to Miami, they build these buildings on top of these piers. You really see it when you go in a parking garage. Because, in case of flooding, water can roll through the first floors of it, which is just your structure holding up. They all stand on piers. Very common structures. If you go to any beachfront hotel, most people park under the building. Then you can see these piers that hold up the buildings. Maybe one of those gave way. See, I don't think anything. I personally don't believe that there was anything done to that structure by those people living there or contractors or anyone coming in that building. However, there was a building built next door to that place a few years back, they said, and it might have caused serious problems to the foundation of that building when they move the concrete and make it undisturbing the soil and stuff. And it could have been something, but again, no matter what took place, there is no way in hell that they did not see cracks, something. It had to be something underneath that they couldn't see. It had to be underneath. Whatever brought that building down happened under the foundation of that building. And that's where that building came down. Everything else you can see, but you can't see underneath that foundation. And that's what caused that building to come tumbling down. And 150 people missing. When I first saw this report yesterday, actually I was watching TV the night before last, in the first night it failed, and I saw the news report. But when they showed the video of that building falling, I saw all the news. I said, okay, you got a whole half of the building in collapse. 55 units. Well, hundreds of people could have, over 100 people are now missing, 150 people. I could see that because it's a 13-story, 55 units, maybe 1 or 2 to 3 occupants per unit, children, vacation, summertime. Airbnb, can you imagine it? I'm going to Miami on vacation. I'm going to be staying at this place right on the beach. Then that shit come tumbling down on your ass. I don't think they've already found 4 bodies. I doubt very seriously if they're going to find any more survivors in that building the way that building came down. It was too severe. Now, when people say, well, they find people in Haiti and all these other stuff. Haiti ain't got no 13-story buildings that came tumbling down now. Let's just be honest about this shit. This was a tall building, 13 stories. They said, we find people underneath. This was a tall building. And I have a sneaky suspicion, as more erosion happens to the barrier islands, along Florida coast, and we have barrier islands all over the United States, that people have built this type of structures and more structures. You might see something similar, but again, there are structures on the Miami island, the island of Miami. I mean, that Miami Beach, South Beach, all those places that date back to the 20s and the 40s. Some taller than this particular building that came down. They don't seem to be having any issues yet that nobody knows of. Something took place under the structure of this building. A sinkhole opened up. It don't take but a second for a sinkhole to open up and swallow something. They can't see it now because the building has pancaked into the ground. They won't know if a sinkhole until they start digging that mess out and pulling out them bodies and start the cleanup. Then they can say, oh shit, this is what took place. So we won't know that for a long time. They got a massive mess they got to clean up right there. And so it's going to take some months before they get to an answer as to what they think about the building down. Now, I'm not going to disregard or they very well could have been doing something to the structure of that building that brought it down also. Doubt it. I doubt that seriously. But we'll know in a few months. I'll put my money underneath the ground of that building. On that beachfront location. And that ground became too soft. Or a sinkhole. And that building came tumbling down. That's what I'm going to put my money on. Love to hear you all's thoughts and opinions. And now, would you be nervous about going into Miami Beach or any of these coastal areas and staying in a hotel that's 13, 14, 15, 20? I almost said the name of this hotel I stayed in. And it goes, it's about 20, well, they did an addition. I don't know I can't remember how tall the original building was. But when I went into this new construction, no, it was, dang, I can't think of that hotel in Miami. However, it was an older building. So would you be nervous about staying? This is another thing, I know it sounds crazy. This is why I don't really like staying at Airbnbs when I travel. For reasons like this building collapsing. And this could have happened, no, I'm not going to say it could happen everywhere, because we're in the United States of America. Buildings should not be collapsing like this. Hotels follow more stringent rules about the construction that can take place and the maintenance and all, because it's a commercial property meant for thousands of people to come into. Clearly, this condominium is not a commercial property, it's residential. Thousands of people shouldn't be going there and checking in and all this other stuff, but they do have Airbnbs and units that were being rented out for vacationers in this particular building. There were some people there on vacation who won't be going back home now. They got a permanent stay in Miami. They ain't coming back. Unless they find them alive under all that concrete. I kind of doubt that. So, I don't particularly care staying for Airbnbs when I travel. I like staying in hotels in commercial places that are designed for vacationers and the public to enter into, because they're more thoroughly watched by inspectors. You have corporate owners. You have people, there's a lot going on in these places which make them much more safer to me. Now, you all can travel and stay in an Airbnb. I know a lot of people probably have stayed in Airbnbs, probably have not had an issue, but I've heard some horror stories. And so I tend to stay to hotels. And plus I like the room service of a hotel and the maid coming in and cleaning daily and stuff like that. And I'm at a hotel. I prefer to stay in a public hotel, preferably 5-star if I can afford it. But we'll see as the weeks go by and the months go by, and as they clean up that hole and pull these people off this ground, they should be able to begin putting the pieces of the puzzle together to determine, did this building come coming down because something they were doing in the building? I doubt it. Or did it happen underneath that motherfucker? I believe it happened underneath the foundation of that building. And that's what brought that building down at 1:30 in the morning when everybody was in bed asleep. Now, I know there's some conspiracy theorists out there saying they blew it up. I can hear y'all now. I saw bombs exploding in the building. It came down as an implosion. It's going to be all over the internet. We already know that. They blew the building up. Listen, I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. But I notice that a lot of you people y'all don't want to believe nothing you see right in front of your eyeballs. People to this day swear up and down they blew up the World Trade Center, that there was a series of explosions that brought that building down. Okay. That's what everybody believes. Now, but back to that building for a second. They said they were doing some work to the roof. Okay. I doubt very serious if work on top of that roof would have caused that building to come down. The roof is just the roof of a building to keep water from getting inside of the building. What kind of work could they have been doing to the roof that would cause that foundation to give way and that building come down? I don't think so. I don't know. Now, but let's think about the roof theory for a minute. Let's say they were up on the roof working and they noticed there was some water damage up on the roof and they had to remove sections of the roof or whatever, or replace some stuff. Even if the roof collapsed, the top part of that roof collapsed because what they were doing, it's not going to bring that building down. Might be a partial collapse, but not to the point where our whole building comes down and the way it came down. No. We can rule out the roof for now. I like to know what type of work they were doing to the roof. They just was replacing the roof, waterproofing it or something like that. I like to know what they were doing up there. Did they do any type of structural change to the roof? Were they trying to do? I don't think that roof. I can't see work being done on that roof causing that building to collapse. Now, I can see the possibility of doing work underneath the building in the parking area. Maybe. I doubt they're doing that, though. They had them pillars holding that building up. Why would they touch those? Let's just say they were trying to replace a pillar that went bad, corrosion. I don't see that. Could the metal and steel building have corroded and gave way? I think they would have noticed cracks in if the steel was in that building had rusted away in the foundation. They would have seen cracks in the concrete. They would have noticed some things. This is what I'm thinking. Could that have happened and caused that building to collapse? Possibly, but I think they would have immediately seen this. And I also think that they would have been x-raying those pillars to make sure the concrete and steel were still good. I'm going back to my original theory. Something happened underneath the foundation of that building that brought that motherfucker down and killed those people. Now, 150 people are missing. They're pulling bodies out left and right. I don't think they're going to get any survivors out of there, but we'll have to just see what happens. But anyway, these are just my thoughts and opinions. Who am I? I'm just a crazy man on the internet sitting on my couch having a cup of coffee. This coffee show is delicious too. Anyway, today is Friday. It's a beautiful day outside. I got to get dressed. I'm not going to the gym today. I got so much I need to do over here. I did work out yesterday. But I would love to hear you all's thoughts and opinions, what you think took place to that building in Miami. And now there goes my phone. So I'm going to conclude this video. Now, today is Friday, June 25th. The year is 2021. My heart goes out to those families who lost loved ones down in Miami, Florida, and the rescue workers. I hope they stay safe as they begin to go through that rubble of those that building and look for survivors, if any. And I hope they do find some people and safely those workers don't get injured and they are able to save some people's lives that might be trapped in the rubble. Good luck with that one, though. I don't think there'll be no survivors, but you never know. So I'm out of here, and enjoy the rest of your Friday.